40k Fireside podcast, where we discuss everything to do with competitive Warhammer 40k with your hosts Vik VJ and David Gaylord.
What's going on here? Hey, this is actually just something that I finished in the previous video, so I'm going to share a different tab instead. We'll just go straight into Nassim's list. So today I'm going to be having a brief chat about this current state of Guard. I haven't had the time to practice a lot recently, but this is something I'm a little bit of an expert in, so I thought we'd just take a recap of where the detachments have settled, particularly after the meta has changed a little bit. Now, meta's changing a little bit. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Orcs are a terminal matchup. If you're playing even a remotely good Orc player and playing Mordaka, it's an extremely large uphill battle. So I'm going to talk about assuming that that's going to get nerfed. I don't know if it is. I hope it is. I think it's bad for the game. So I thought we'd take a look at some of the detachments and just have a think about where their relative strength is. So I'm going to talk about now what I think the relative strength of them are. I think Recon is the worst. Siege Detachment is one above Recon. And then I think Bridgehead is probably above Siege now. But then after that, I think it's probably Mechanized Detachment, Mechanized Assault. And then I think it's a tie between Combined Arms and Hammer of the Emperor. Now, the reason I say it's a tie is because both armies actually operate a little bit differently, and each army is a bit more susceptible to terrain. For example, Combined Arms is a lot more susceptible to terrain and meta fluctuations, whereas Hammer of the Emperor is very consistent, and it can play on heavy boards as well. So there's pros and cons to those, so it's actually difficult to say which one is definitely better, because it's going to depend. If you're playing in the States, you're playing UKTC, you're playing on WTC, you're playing your local game shop, which has got some weird terrain. That's going to depend, right? So that would be my advice if you're looking for a list. The benefit of that is that you can build a hammer list out of a combined arm list, and you can build a combined arm list more or less out of a hammer list. So if you want one or the other, depending on your terrain, let's go. Now, the inevitable question there is going to be, okay, David, well, when do I decide that? In my opinion, the more open the board, the better combined is. The more shooting orientated the meta is, the better combined is. There we go. Okay, so I thought let's take a look at Nassim Fushane's list that he played at Goonhammer. Now, he did go X and 1, losing to Ultramarines at the end. I believe Goonhammer plays, someone correct me down below, I believe that they are playing they're playing a mixture of the Vanguard Tactic terrain set. Someone correct me down below though. The last 3 times I've played it has always been that, but they may have been moving to a GW-ish style. But it's kind of akin to GW, even if it's the Vanguard Tactics terrain set, sort of. So let's look at the list. Nassim is always a very good list writer and has a good deep understanding of how to build Guard. Please no, stop nerfing my faction. So he's gone with the Cadian Command Squad. Okay. Okay. It looks like he's playing Scions here, so 1 unit of Command Squad for the Scions. He's got a Dawn Commander. He's gone with Triple Stubber, which I think is a great choice still. Grand Strat on that, so Triple Order, and then Ursula Creed. Now, he hasn't gone with Leontis, of course, so we'll see what happens there. Now, we've got Creed plus Cadian Command Squad. He hasn't gone for the Ogryn Bodyguard, so I'm assuming Creed plus Command Squad, and then what is going to be Cadian Shock Troops there. So you get that sticky unit, and you could use the strat to order anything, which is quite flexible because you can target that with Ursula Creed for the free strat. Two units of Jungle Fighters, and then 2 big blobs of Death Corps of Krieg. It's an interesting choice. Obviously, you've got the respawn mechanic, but they are kind of good in a couple of ways. You can move them, and if you get a big advance, you can potentially put a big wall against the board on turn 1. But realistically, what you're wanting to do is stage them inside a ruin. Now, there might be some terrain boards, and I know Vanguard Tactics terrain has these urban U-shaped magic boxes. So if that was in play, I would think that's a good choice for the 20s. I know Nassim was previously playing 1 unit of 20 Krieg, so it's interesting he's gone for the double here. What is really good is if you give them +1 save and advance them into a staging location, you then give them +1 move or +1 save and an advance after that, and you can like wall summon in across the whole board on turn 2. Then you can respawn them on top of that as well. So they're a pretty flexible unit, and for 130, they are actually a unit that does get better when you upgrade them to the 20. So like a unit of 20 is better than 2 units of 10 in an abstract sense. Okay, got a Chimera. That's an interesting choice. Chimera's a little bit better in combined arms, I would say, particularly with the lethal strategy, lethal detachment. 2 Tauruxes, okay, so 2 Tauruxes and a Chimera, and he's got 2 Catachan Jungle Fighters, so 2 Scout moving here at least, and he's got two units of Kasrkin as well, so all transport's going to be Scout moving here. He's gone with the Hellhound with the Multi-Melter. It's an interesting choice. I think the Multi-Melter is a good choice, and actually, unironically, the Hellhound is kind of like a truck killer, against orcs. If you give that guy +1 to hit, he's got a really good shot at knocking out a truck with the Hunter and the Multi-Melter. Unless they just like roll a 6 on their save, you're hitting them on 3s and wounding them on 3s, and it basically goes straight through in melter range, so you've got a good chance of killing a truck. Which, if you have Kasrkin and a Torx to follow up, you could potentially get the ability to knock out a unit like Looters or a unit like Tank Busters, for example. The downside to that, though, is that you're still paying 175. You're paying 300 points to achieve that, so you are inevitably trading down. But it's a trade you've got to take sometimes. Not to mention you can melter mine the truck as well, which is cool. Okay, 2 Leman Russ battle tanks. Awesome. These guys are super good. It's interesting he's gone with the double multi-melter. I'd be interested to see what his logic behind that one is. I would have loved to have seen 1 multi-melter, 1 plasma cannon. I think plasma cannon has a lot of good value nowadays. Like Creations of Bile is really good. Demons you get blast against. You also get blast against Eldari. In the mirror, it's pretty good with the lethals. And against orcs, obviously, it's very good as well. So even the Overwatch here is kind of nice. So I'd be interested to see what he thought about the double multi-melter. Because I would love to play one, like outflank one with the multi-melter and then put the other one with plasmas. Against Marines, the plasma is good too. And then he's gone with the big unit of silence. Interesting enough, gone with the volley guns here. I think that's a good take, especially if you're probably going to be hitting them with +1 rapid fire. They overwatch really well with the volley guns because you have lethals on top of that as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan. This is a great list. You've got you've got a lot of targets to respawn. So if you're a tempo orientated player that's trying to play aggressive, which Nassim is typically that kind of player, I would say, you can burn the respawn early on a key unit, keep pressure up, and keep board control. You may think, well, he's only got like 1 Dawn and then 2 Lehman Russ battle tanks. That's not really a lot of shooting, but there's a lot of forward pressure here between like Tauruxes, Hellhound, 2 units of Kasrkin, that if your army is susceptible to that, you can be in a bad spot. This is a type of list that can take board control if it goes first very, very well, and is going to be putting a lot of pressure on you very quickly. Cool. I think this is an awesome list. It's pretty similar to what Nassim and I played in private practice quite a few weeks ago, and I'm not surprised to see him do really well there. Okay, so that's been combined arms. I'm going to take a quick detour and talk about a list that I've been working on. And this is going to be the last list I'm going to recap. It's going to be the Mechanized list. It's called a Mechanized Brew. If you don't know what this is a new recruit. This is just what I use for list building. So I wanted to quickly chat about my new brew for Mechanized. I've spent a little bit of time away from it and kind of have come back to it, but this is an idea I originally thought, well, there's some changes I thought I would make afterwards. Now, I do still think Mechanized is quite powerful, but it's a little bit of a tricky list to nail down. It incentivizes you to play transports and a lot of transports to proc your army ability and use your strats that work with transports. But what you end up doing is you end up over-indexing into something that actually isn't that powerful, and you lose a good amount of raw capability. For example, the list I played at Manchester was like 23 units. I only had 1 Rogue Dawn and 1 Russ. So the vast majority of my army could just be killed with bolters and multi-melters, which is, not a great position to be in. So what I did was I thought, look, I'm going to think about this list and how can I make it into the best mechanized list. Now, do I think that this list is as powerful as maybe the list we just saw with combined arms? Arguably not. But do I think it's the better version of mechanized to play? Yes. So here we go. I'm going to play Ursula Creed, mainly because I want to be able to farm CP because I'm not playing Leontis and free strat. So I'm going to be a bit CP starved. So basically, in every list, you should either play Ursula Creed or you should play Leontis, in my opinion. I've got two Rogal Dawn commanders. Okay, it's the backbone of everything. I play them. I have no loadouts on this done, by the way. I would play them with obviously the double blast gun and the stubbers. And then we've got an engine seer with the upgrade for the 4 rerolls to hit on the Chimera. He's cuttable for sure. You'll see that this list is 2,000 on the nose. So if you can think of a bit of 55-point unit, I would say go for that. But remember, you've got to have a lot of hulls around, like with Rogal Dawn. So a 4-up in one's kind of nice, especially with Daka in the meta right now. He's also, if you're going to actually play him, his enhancement for 10 points is very good. It's not a question of whether you play the enhancement, it's whether or not you play him in the first place, I think. 2 units of jungle fighters. I just use them as pre-game moving units. They're just, I mean, okay, 10 out of 10 jungle fighters. I don't need to talk about them anymore. They're really good. 2 units of Kassakin. So these are good. This here, 2 units of Kassakin and 3 units of Ogren. Now, what I wanted to focus on is how can I get the best out of Mechanized whilst at the same time retaining a solid army component? Well, the best stratagem in Mechanized is, of course, drumroll, 4 rerolls to hit and wound. Okay, the problem about that is that you don't get it off every single game. You don't get it off every single turn. So instead, you don't actually need that many transports to activate that ability. It's more of a timing issue, I think. So I've got the 3 units. Ogren are still really cheap and good action monkeys. And then we've got the Kaskin there as well. So I've still got Kaskin for a bit of punch with +1 to wound. With +1 to wound and +1 to hit, they're really solid. Now I've got same with Ogren, really, just +1 to wound. Ogren is still really solid as well. I've got 2 units of heavy weapon teams. Once again, +1 to wound. I do like these guys. With Marines being in the meta, Eldari being in the meta, Orcs, I think these guys are very good against Orcs. The Overwatch to keep tank busters away is legitimately quite good. So yeah, I like them. So we've got, let's just get to the spice. Triple Vanquisher. I legitimately think Triple Vanquisher is quite good. One with the 3 flamers that's going to be holding my expansion, and then just 2 vanquishers, which are, if you're trying to shoot like a Vindicator or Ballista's Dreadnought, Vanquisher does great. If orcs have to commit into them to kill them, you're kind of okay with that because they're 145 points. And then after that, if you play 2 variants with a battle, like the actual railgun, a las cannon, and 2 plasmas, you get a good blast profile, like 2 big guns to be anti-tank as well. So actually, when you think about it, these guys provide you with a good ability to secure your expansion, whilst at the same time you can maybe play one from reserve. It becomes stationary, it hits on 3s by itself at that point. Bring it in from reserve, order it with the Dawn within 12, and then move on, shoot something after that. Really versatile. So I think they're quite good. Then we've got 2 Chimeras and the Taurox. I had 20 points left over, so you could downgrade a Chimera to a Taurox if you want, and then you get 75 points if you drop the Engine Seer. But, with an Engine Seer with 2 Chimeras with 4 rerolls, that's kind of nice. Now, you might say, David, a Mechanized guard list with only 3 transports? What's going on here? Now, this is where it kind of all comes together. What I realize is that if you play 5 transports, or like Lord forbid more than 5 transports, you end up holding side objectives and just bleeding off transports, trying to actually sustain board presence, which isn't what you want to be able to do. You want to put something hard and hard to shift on a point, like a Vanquisher, and hold it with that, or a Dawn. Then you would just want to use your transports as your ability to use your strat and utilize your strats, right? Like, just think about it. We've got the Taurox, right? The Taurox can advance and charge, advance and disembark, and proc our +1 to hit, right? Or 4 rerolls to hit and wound. Chimeras can be in the middle of the board, drip feeding stuff out, and then we can use our strat for a d6 extra movement after that. And then we've got the Engine Seer that can follow up, can heal, can provide a 4-up invuln to our Vanquishers maybe, or then move or advance somewhere, and then put the 4 rerolls hit on the Chimera. So you want to play them a lot slower and a lot more defensive, and you want to play like a more traditional guard game with your Vanquishers and your Dawns doing a lot of the work here. Okay, That's been me. Just a short video today. I hope this was interesting. If you're thinking about playing Mechanized, give this one a whirl. You know, it's a spicy David brew. I think the triple vanquisher is good, and yeah, there we go. So we looked at two lists, but combined is definitely great, and so is this one. If you're interested about Hammer of the Emperor, I still think the list I played against Vik was really solid. That list you can swap out some of the executioners for Lehman Russ battle tanks, so it gets really really good there as well. So Hammer of the Emperor is still definitely solid. If you're looking at playing that as well, I would say 2 Rogal Dawns, 3 Lehman Russ Hulls, absolute starting point with Leontis and Ghosts. Then I like a couple, like 1 Taurox or 2 Taurox there, and then you can build it from yourself. But there's plenty of lists going around for Hammer of the Emperor. It's really strong. Okay, guys. The only last thing I have is that if you're interested in content like this and you think that you like the way I explain things, consider checking out the Early Game Algorithm. It's a workshop course I recently released. It's about 3 and a bit hours long. You get access to that for £20, and you can pay via PayPal. I'll have a link to the image below. And then I'm actually releasing a Q&A afterwards as well. I'm collecting all the questions from people that have watched it, and I'm doing another like hour and a half-ish video on top of that, answering direct questions. So that's about 5 hours of content, and it goes through everything from what I think when I initially see my opponent's list to how can I identify which units are key, what macro strategy am I going to have to execute this game, and how am I going to deploy to emphasize that macro strategy. So it's a great way of getting an early game structure into your tournament play. Awesome, guys. That's been it for me. Hope you have a good one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the 40k Fireside. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, drop us a comment, check out the YouTube members area, and we look forward to seeing you again next time by the Fireside.